Urban Media Today talks sports with Ray Porter Jr., Vince Butts, and Trevin A. Jones on Urban Media Today Radio.
It's game time!
It's Urban Media Today Talks Sports. Trevin A. Jones. You got Ray Porter. See, I said my name first this time, fellas. You got Ray Porter Jr. You got my man Vince Butts, Coach William Greg Hoyd Jr. And then you got my man John McCann and a special guest today, gentlemen, ladies. The special guest today, we got Coach Patrick Abernathy. He's the assistant coach at University of Tennessee, and he's the director of player development. So we're going to drop some gems today because we're going to ask Coach, we're going to keep it real simple too. We're going to ask Coach, what is player development at the college level and how he impacts the young ones coming through and how the young ones impact him too. It's Urban Media Today Talk Sports. And gentlemen, what we got to do today is, I got to show this right away. We have our Urban Media Today chalkboard. So on the chalkboard, I'm going to share it with you right now. All right, chalkboard. You see what we're going to talk about. You got the impact of COVID-19 on the early preparations for the college football season. Coach Abernathy, we're going to get you to weigh in on that one too. The NBA teams, they have 10 teams that are participating in voluntary workouts. I want to see how you guys feel about that. And then we got the NFL. Is it too early to talk about MVP? Fellas, they're talking about a dark horse MVP already. I'm not feeling that. Yeah, right? And then, Florida Tech dropped this football program. So, Coach, if you don't mind, I want you to weigh in on that as well. And we'll talk a whole lot. But there's the debut of the Urban Media Today Talk Sports Chalkboard. I'm just having fun, fellas. So, Coach Abernathy, do me a favor, introduce yourself, and then we'll get right into it. We'll talk about what you do as Director of Player Development. And also talk about you're coming up, like coming through the college ranks and then ending up as a coach.
Once again, Patrick Abernathy. I act as the Director of Player Development, and I help with the outside backers at the University of Tennessee. When you talk about player development, really you're talking about a mediator or an extension of a household, as well as teaching life skills. That's what you're basically corralling together. And what I mean by that, you're speaking in terms of when you say a player development, there's obviously the recruiting process when you bring a kid in. And when you do that, that's when you're collecting that information in terms of how this person is wired, how he thinks, where he's coming from, all those deals. So you try to find out, do you want to connect in that with what you have wherever you are? And I place it at UT. So in that mindset, you're trying to find out, does that kid jive with what we got going on and the direction that we're trying to trend to? So when you say player development, let's be honest, we are all of our fathers. So when you say player development, really it's just becoming a father, a mother, or extension. And what I mean by that, those individuals that need encouraging when it comes to academics, you're going to support those situations. You're going to tell them, try to give them guidance in terms of that. When it comes to off the field, maybe mental, social deals, you're going to try to intervene in those type of situations. And also, when it comes to, you have a lot of guys that get there, that come to your institution, and you'd be surprised how some of the little basic fundamental stuff that they lack. Obviously, not only in a behavior type situation, but I'm talking about as simple as getting a driver's license. I'm talking about as simple as how to set up a bank account. All those life type skills that you assume that a young man should have, you find out very quickly that some of those guys come and they're just football players and they have not endured a lot of those outside of deals. May it be because of single parents or whatever the situation is. You get to a point where you got to bring these guys in and you teach them behaviors. Some of them you don't have to teach behaviors. Some of them become an extension because they come from certain households. All you want to do is complement however they sent that individual to you. Say, okay, this is what you've been brought up on. Let's not forget that. And then you talk about all the other deals of life skills in terms of drug awareness, how to treat young ladies, all the deals that it takes for you to be a strong person, a citizen in the community. Now you got to say your community is the university, is the football team. So you're still trying to enhance that individual in those type of respects.
Wow. So, Coach, if I may, and I know the fellas are going to have questions too. When you go through all of that with players and the players actually stay at the institution for 4 years, as you help them develop, what impact does it have on you?
Well, really, I think in order to do a really efficient job, it has to be beyond your paycheck. It has to be a little bit of a calling. It has to be something that's inside. When you talked about earlier, asking me where I come from, I'm originally born in Detroit, moved to Tennessee, been here for 100 years. But I'm a product. I'm a twin. I have a twin sister. My mom was a single parent. My twin sister was killed by gunfire. My brother was killed by gunfire. Lost a daughter at 6 years old in her sleep. So you put all those deals in your little wagon, and you get to a point where you realize when you say player development, you're talking about life. You know, how do I enhance this individual for life? So when you say that, how does it impact me? Really, it becomes, like I said, a ministry, a time to vent, time to get back, give back, to reconnect, and hopefully that you guide and steer some young individuals, obviously into some areas that are going to make them productive citizens. So you talk about the give back, the reward is like what we were talking when we were off the air, looking up front. When I look at my son, I tell my son all the time, I said, son, I said, when you see me, what do you see? I said, not this bald-headed dude, what do you see? So in other words, those things that are really have value, are you basically enhancing them where they are able to share that hopefully somewhere down the line? So yes, you're impacted because you see a kid that comes in that maybe his dad's been in the penitentiary all his life. Maybe his mom, I know we have one that mom was on drugs, all this, and you see him walk across that stage. You see him become good citizens, and then hopefully you see him become good fathers. The football piece is one thing for sure, I guarantee they're going to stop playing one day, but you don't stop playing right. So you got to make sure all the things that you're giving them are preparing them before the day they roll in that church and it's done. So that's what it comes down to.
Go ahead, John. I know you had a question.
Coach, with the coaching profession being such a transient business, and you said you've been at UT for a while, how have you been able to stay in one place for so long?
Well, it's weird because this is the second staff of 7 years here at the UT. I'm the only personnel person there that was retained from the first regime, which was under Coach Jones, and to still outlive that. You just got to have a value, man. You got to have a value, and you got to have something unique. Anytime you're in business, one of the things that make businesses survive is not just everybody selling hamburgers. It's what's different about your hamburger. What's different about whatever you bring to the table. So when you talk about the survival of that, they've got to see you as an asset. That, you know what, this thing is bigger than a guy standing up front giving a prepared speech. It's about seeing a person that obviously has not always necessarily walked out of some golden bridges and streets, but a person that speaks and lives and tries to exercise whatever his mouth comes out of his mouth. And so those kind of deals, I think how I survived when he saw that, he saw value. Now, I ain't stupid. It don't hurt that I got a 6'5", 260-pound kid that's a nationally ranked one with 43 Power 5 offers and go anywhere in the country. That helps too, I guess, at some point. But when he came about, my son was only in the 9th, going into 10th grade. So he had not really let his wings go in terms of that, with the obviously not blowing the horn of Greg, but having relationships with like Greg Hoyt and playing for Envelope kind of put him out there on that mainstream and helped him in terms of that. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, because I can imagine, you know, when a new coaching regime comes in, that head coach would want to have his own director of player personnel. So you're obviously doing something special.
I appreciate that.
Definitely do. I like the fact, just like with Coach Hoyt, investing in the person. I mean, you recognize the skill, you see the skill, but investing in the person. They'll never forget that, because the guarantee is when you invest, it's going to turn a profit in their success. And like you said, learning how to manage money, you know, bank accounts, driver's license. So I really admire that, because it's so important, because when their career begins and ends between the dashes, they have those ethics for life, those traits for life. So I admire that.
My dad told me a long time ago, if you're a fool without money, what are you going to be with money? You're going to be a big one. So what you're trying to do is teach them how to be good stewards of little while they're going through the travel. So if they are blessed to get a lot, whatever that means, maybe money, maybe just success or whatever it is, that they can handle that, and handle it in a productive way to a point, realizing that how they're basically blessed and they have favor over their life more so than they just feel like it's me and I got an S on my chest. So those things are important. If you can get to the kid, I tell them all the time, some of the players up there, I said, the way I look at life, I think everybody is like a grass of seed, the same seed. That's what I think in my mind. The difference, what makes people successful or not, is not the grass seed. It's where they decide to plant that seed. What kind of soil do you put that seed in? And how do you nurture that? That's the difference. It ain't the seed. Now I know you can get Bermuda, you can get all kind of grass, but it's really not the seed. It's the source. It's the soil. Where you set that thing at, and how do you nurture and cultivate that thing? That's how you find out what people bloom.
All right, but go ahead, Vince. Go ahead, Vince.
So I can see why you made it from one coaching administration to the next. You're very, very knowledgeable, very valuable to young people. You coach and with the athletic director at Brentwood Academy, pretty successful football program. Was the transition because you were teaching high school athletes? Was the transition from a high school to a major football program very similar? Some of the same things you have to teach?
Well, yes and no. One of the things when you first go, obviously, you're thinking, oh, I got to clean up, or I'm going on the big boy stage. But then after a while, you realize this here. Football is just football, man. Cover two is cover two. Cover three, it's the same football. Now, how you derive and get to certain schemes and certain is different, and you're dealing with a kid that's a little bit more travel down his travel in terms of knowledge, you would hope, where you don't have to revisit, the ground level stuff as much. But at the end of the day, you're talking to another person. So the bottom line is, well, no matter what information you're conveying, may it be football in this case or whatever, you're still trying to make sure that you connect with where you really need to connect with the person, knowing their learning behaviors, all those type of deals. So you're determined how what you can give them, what you can't give them. So you got to be in tune with that.
Hey, Ad, before we go to the next quarter, I know Trev is probably warming up to go to the next quarter because the quarters go by pretty fast. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. That was great segue for connections. I know you and I, we always talk about the connections. You're an HBCU guy. You know a lot of coaches that are kind of in that area. A lot of coaches, when you were at the high school, you probably met a bunch of coaches. You met a bunch of coaches because your son came to my recruiting service and you had a bunch of connections that way. So let's talk about teaching the kids how to value the connections on campus with the alumni, or just what do you emulate or what do you teach as far as connections?
Well, one of the biggest things that I try to embark or tell them is this here: your network is your net worth. And so if you can control your network, who you're in relationships with and who you come and connect with, you'll be surprised how that can give you a return. It may be financially, may it be opening doors, avenues, whatever it is. So you got to be really, very conscious of who you're connecting with and who you're breaking bread with, who you're having conversations with. So when you talk about those relationships on the travel up, I realized my grandmother, which is deceased, she told me, a person needs a bridge more than just crossing every now and then. You may have to go cross that bridge. So I just, over my travel, when I was in high school, I realized, hey, I'm no bigger, no better. I was at a predominant, a very powerful high school at Brentwood Academy where some elite guys have over the years have played. But at the same time, you still got to deal with people naked in a sense, just valuable, who they are, and always be consistent with who you try to be. And so over my time, I've just met a lot of people because if you sit down and talk with me, hopefully, you'll recognize my passion about who I am and whose I am. And then at the same time, I don't have a false security of where I want to go and how I'm traveling. So I'm in the right car wherever I'm trying to get to. in those relationships.
Go ahead, John. I think you had another question, right?
Yeah, because I'm real confused right now, fellas,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm listening to the coach talk, and you seem like a real wholesome guy. But I think all of us would agree that everything in college sports ain't real wholesome, coach. There's some unsavory stuff that goes on.
Absolutely.
How do you exist in that world?
Well, you know, there's some things in life that are like three different phases. You got one phase that is negotiable. You know, you got some things that are not that important. You know, okay, I can reason and go along with it. And then there's another part that are debatable, that you're sitting there going, oh, I don't know now, I ain't sure about that. And then there's another part, which is your DNA of who you are. That doesn't change no matter what you put on in your clothing. Or that DNA is who. So you got to find a blend of how never allow anyone to touch the DNA, but at the same time be negotiable, and at the same time pick those deals that are not that are low hanging, that are not that important to you. So that's the way I look at it. If that makes sense.
That's
That's
good stuff.
So let's talk about TSU. TSU had a draft pick this go around too, right?
Yeah, so excuse me, I can hear you.
Did
you,
TSU have a draft pick this year?
Yeah, I'm sure they did. I'm a Tiger now. Now, where the other HBCUs? I want to make sure I don't step on nobody's toe. I'm Tiger now. I know Jackson Stelvin, Jackson. They gonna talk about there's a Tiger. They ain't the one Tiger now. They got real Tiger. You know, the other ones are Cubs. You know,
we gotta talk about that, Coach. You done started something now, because but you know what? Tennessee State, got to give big ups to Tennessee State, because Coach Reed has produced some linemen over the years that have been incredible, and they've been NFL talent. I mean, consistently. I think him and South Carolina State, Coach Buddy Pugh at South Carolina State on the defensive side, him and Coach Reed have actually been putting them out on a regular basis. So, yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that, Coach. I'm a Spartan. I went to Norfolk State. I knew you were at Tennessee State. I knew you were a Tiger. Much respect.
Absolutely.
It's Urban Media Today.
The funny thing with Rod Reed played behind me. Rod Reed was a lot.
Really?
I was there prior to Rod Reed. Rod Reed, when I got injured, Rod Reed became the starting outside linebacker.
Well, okay, so that's the story. You got to tell this story, Coach. It's Urban Media Today Talk Sports. We're going to take a break. We're going to come right back. You can give us a call, 412-709-6130. We got Ray Porter Jr. We got my man Vince Butts, John McCann, Coach William Greg Hoyt, another junior. And we got special guest, Coach, Assistant Coach, University of Tennessee, Patrick Abernathy, Director of Player Personnel. We're going to be right back. Player Development. We'll be right back after this brief timeout.
Media Today is your source for entertainment, news, sports, and lifestyle. It's your online resource for health and fitness, providing tips to decrease your heart disease or increase your good spirits. When you can't find who made the top picks in HBCU sports or what part of the country is most exciting or affordable to travel with the entire family, Urban Media Today is there to provide you with all that you need and just a click away. Log on to urbanmediatoday.com now. Find us on social media. Urban Media Today, your lifestyle information and blog website.
Urban Media Today talks sports, and special guest here, Coach Patrick Abernathy, Director of Player Development, Assistant Coach at University of Tennessee. You went from Nashville to Knoxville. We were talking about a story real quick before we left. You were talking about your days at Tennessee State, and we were talking about the fact that Tennessee State's putting out some great linemen over the years. You played linebacker, Coach?
I did. I played linebacker. I grew into a lineman, but I was a linebacker. I was around 230, and now I'm I'll say 2 or 3 pounds above 230.
Understood.
Or
Tell the story.
And holding.
230. That's a good thing. Okay. All right. We're allowed. As we get older, we're allowed to, Coach. That's without question. Tell the story about. Go ahead.
Can we get to that? Can we talk about the Detroit Cass Tech? Because Detroit is. If you know Detroit, you know Cass Tech. Ab is a Cass Tech dude. So
that's right. That's right.
Cass Tech listening to us in Detroit. So let's make sure we give Cass Tech. Go ahead, Ab. Talk about Cass Tech and then the process.
the best high school in America, man. Cass Tech. But I love Detroit. Detroit. is always going to be very, very dear to me, obviously. But at the same time, it's also been a great thing when I was fortunate to leave. I didn't leave on my own. My dad worked for Ford Glass, so he ended up transferring to Tennessee, and that's how I got to Nashville. And then I had family that went to Tennessee State. I had my uncle, his best friend was Claude Humphrey, so there's just a lot of history there. So that's how I ended up coming down toward Nashville, and love it. I mean, Nashville's a blooming place, but Detroit is growing. So for those that don't know it, Detroit is definitely growing in the right direction. A lot of positives are being done down there. They don't always, I guess, advertise that, but it is a lot. I appreciate that.
Wow, good
words there, my
stuff.
brother.
So since the family moved to Tennessee and at Tennessee State, they've been doing big things. I gotta ask this question. I came across this name when I was doing research. Eloise Abernathy. Relations to you?
Eloise, no.
Okay.
Ralph Abernathy, yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, I only asked because of the Abernathy name. Now, but this other brother, big time. He didn't go to Tennessee State. He's at Tennessee actually. You might know him, Tyler Barone. Tyler Barron. I'm sorry.
I
Well,
do.
you were saying, Coach, 6'4", 250?
Well, he's around Tyler, probably 6'5", a little bit smidgen over 6'5", probably about 260.
Wow.
He graduates in probably about another week, whatever they want to call graduation through this coronavirus, and
Right.
he'll play outside linebacker, and he enrolled as a freshman at the University of Tennessee.
Okay. Wow. So I mean, I don't want you to talk too much about it, but I mean, is that like a no-brainer? I know everybody was coming for him because he played so well. His senior year, had big-time recruits coming at him, and he had the opportunity to stay home, so to speak, and play with Dad. That had to make you proud.
It did, but it was also, no disrespect to University of Tennessee, because I am really appreciative. I enjoy my work there, but that's not who I am. Patrick Abernathy is who I am. So when I say that to say, when it comes to being a father, that supersedes when I clock in and go to work. So it was kind of really challenging, because you're trying to allow your son to have the freedom autonomy to make decisions, because you think everything you've done up to this point is putting him in position to make a decision. So I didn't want to strong arm him and force him to come to the University of Tennessee. So we traveled. We went to Alabama. We went to Oklahoma. He went to Clemson. We did Kentucky. We went. He went to Ohio State. So he had 40-some. He had a lot of offers of choices to go, and I wanted to allow him to look at them. But then what I told him is, I said, when it comes down to it, when we talk about it, I want you to collect information. Then we'll talk. I'll tell you what I think. And some of the things that really mattered to him, I told him, going back to that network for the rest. So where are you planning on living at, son? Because that's important to you.
Right.
You don't want to go to Oregon and bring an Oregon degree down here, because guess what? You can take it out to the trash can. No disrespect to Oregon. Great degree, a great university, but it doesn't have the same value geographically. So you got to keep those kind of things in consideration. But the last thing that I told my son is this: I said, son, if you were me and I were you, where would you go? Where would you want your son to play? Would you want to see your son play? I said, Daddy works on Saturdays, right? So if you go somewhere else, Dad can't see you play. I said, as a father, not at Tennessee, as a father, I want to see you play, son. And that's all I told. I never pressured him, never forced him, none of that. And it was really touch and go, because I thought he was leaning to some other places, and I was going to maybe put his signing off a little bit, say, hey, I need to buy some more time to work it out. But at the end of the day, those things that you put in his life, I think it was part of the decision.
That's
Now,
good stuff. Perfect segue to you, Coach. Go ahead.
So, because I deal with a lot of coaches that don't want to be that coach that go out and prostitute, or say the market their
You
kid.
said it right. I get it.
A lot of coaches are playing for envelopes and retaining my service, because they don't want to be the guy that's calling their friend up that works at Alabama or that works at Oregon to say, hey, can you offer my kid? Because again, at the end of the day, we're dads. I'm a dad. Both my boys played Division I football. I didn't want to be that dad that was kind of, it kind of seemed like he needed to get it on his own laurel, but the recruiting has changed so much, and especially with your time being limited, being on staff at Tennessee, you worked going through tremendous amount of hours you're working there, but then retaining a recruiting service to help market and promote your kid not only locally but nationally, and you're not having to be the guy. How did that sit with you? What are some of the things you learned about it? What are some of the things that we talked about? You can talk to the guys about.
Well, it was awesome, to be honest. I am very fortunate and I trusted you. I trusted playing for Envelope for several reasons. One, we had conversated on higher levels prior to my son's situation of being recruitable. I knew that you were an outstanding man because you're a man of Kappa Alpha Psi Incorporated. So I knew that you had to be a man of stature. So I knew that. But
starting something, Coach.
I'm throwing words in that, baby. But truthfully, it really helped me because this is what happened. And you know how I am, Greg. When I came to Greg in playing for Envelope, I told him, I said, listen, I'm not going to, for the lack of a better way, he said the positive, I'm not going to shop my son around like he's a piece of meat. I said, I want to concentrate on making sure his skill set and the things that are important, I want to make sure he possesses them. I said, but what I do want from you is that I want you to be that voice. I want you to be that person that's having those conversations, going in the offices, people that they trust you. I said, but at the same time, I don't want to necessarily have to call anyone. I'm not looking to call no favors in for him. If he had to play at Walmart University, if they're going to pay, that's where we want to go. But at the same time, I wanted to reach out to someone that I knew that I trusted in the industry, that I knew that could put my son in front of people if his goods were good enough that people would want to shop and buy. And obviously playing for Envelopes did that for me. And it made my life a little bit easier where I didn't have to feel like that people were just giving them deals. If you remember one time when Notre Dame offered him, I told him when they called, I said, listen, coach, if it's not committable, keep it, because that means we ain't done enough work. I said, I'm not like the average parent. If my son is not worthy of a committable one, let's not do it. And then obviously you went forward and you assured me that those things were committable and all that. And it made my life, I slept pretty good knowing that I did not have to do it. And you got all that momentum going in the right way. And hopefully it's a different day. You can sit at home and not put your son out there and get a service that can help you, or you can allow, no disrespect, but those handlers, those guys that are maybe not educated in the industry, yeah, they might know how to teach them how to backpedal, but they don't know the business. And you can take a risk of putting those guys out in front and handling your kid. And then what they're going to do, in a lot of respects, they're going to leverage your kid for their own gain. I didn't want that. I wanted it because I wanted you to take my product. Where I need to place it demographically, where it doesn't need to be at for it to get the best light. And you did that for me.
Wow.
What do you mean by committable?
Committable means I can walk in Walmart and offer everybody today, and that don't mean I have to commit them and allow them to come to the university. Every year, every institution, everyone, I don't care, on every level, if you want a running back, you're not going to offer one kid. You're going to offer 12 kids. To try to get to one. You're playing the percentages, you're playing the numbers. If you want wide receiver, you're going to offer X amount. If you're talking about old linemen, you may end up offering 40 offensive linemen between center guard and tackle, knowing that you can't take 40. You can't take for 25 a year of any position. So, total. So you can't do it in one position. So my point when I say committable, I wanted to know that if my son went to sleep, woke up the next day and said, Nick Saban, I want to go play at Alabama. I wanted to hear them say, yes, I accept that I accept your commitment. Because you have some guys, their conversation that they call and institutions won't take it. You see people saying, I got 20 people I'm choosing from. Some of them don't have 20 committable offers. Some of them be lucky to have 3 out of that 20, but it looks good in social media. So all offers are not committable, period.
And so what, is that you, Coach Hoyd, going in between and filtering through all that to see what's real?
Absolutely. Because you have fake offers out there too. So kids can actually go on social media and just basically say that Tennessee State or University of Tennessee offered him a scholarship. They could just say it because the NCAA has put restrictions on where it can't be verified. You can't call Patrick Abernathy at Tennessee and say, hey, did you offer Trevin? You can't ask that question. Okay. So you have to, maneuver through all of the deceit, all of the tricks, and then all of the negotiation points. A lot of it is negotiation as far as, the good, the bad. Is this, am I going to play my first year? Because this is what you have to really be talked to recruits about, is that, yeah, you might want to go to Notre Dame, but if the coach isn't straight with you and say, hey, I got a guy in front of you, you may have to redshirt your first year. And you have to be real with the parents and real with the athletes. Say, hey, the guy in front of you he's a Buckus award-winning linebacker. You might want to go in and play. Yeah, I'm a 5-star. I got 40 offers, but you got to understand that first year you may only play special teams,
right,
or you may redshirt. And that's where I go in and I have a real conversation with the staff. I'm looking at boards, and I come back and I talk to my clients, and even a basketball girl. I talk to basketball girls today. Hey, you're a pretty good guard, but if you go to Arizona, the girl in front of you, she's going to play 35 minutes a game. So you're not going to get a lot of minutes. Now, there's nothing wrong with going to Arizona. That's where you want to go. But you got to be real to kind of know what the business is like, have the conversation with the parents and the athletes. Because now everybody thinks they're a 5-star. Everybody thinks they have, because they have access, right? They have access, just like everybody on this Zoom call has access to boards, have access to questionnaires. So, we have to also tell coaches what's real. Some players I cannot present to the University of Tennessee, and some players I cannot present to Tennessee State. It's just flat out. I tell parents that all the time. And that's where you talk about the go-between, being real with the parents in the recruiting process, being real with the coaches. Because that way their bullshit meter's not up. Because you got to understand these coaches. We're talking to a coach right here. He probably gets about 300 emails every 4 hours, okay? He probably gets about, 15 calls where someone has given his telephone number out. He doesn't even know the number, okay? And this is what's happening on an hourly basis for every major Power 5 school, every university in the country. So how do you know what's real? I mean, we're all here with business guys. We have jobs and things of that nature. Just imagine your phone ringing, 300 times today, and you're getting 400 emails before noon.
Well, it's funny you say that because at the end of the day, I joke a lot of times, even with Greg, about I'll tell him, hey, man, they done made the movie Rudy. I don't need no Rudies. There ain't going to be a sequel to Rudy. So I need to know, can this guy really play on this level? And then having the ability to trust the words he shares with me, because he knows I'm going to tell him point blank when I'm in my Tennessee deal, say, hey, this is what we got. This is what our roster looks like. This is what's going on, da-da-da. I don't know if this would be a great experience for that guy. I know he has a competitive spirit, but based on the roster and da-da-da, I don't know if this would be a good fit. So that doesn't mean a kid can't play at the University of Tennessee. Maybe it's just not the right fit. And having someone that be that voice and be those legs in front of you to go out there and say, hey, that roster right there might not be the best one for this, or da-da-da. It's good. It's great for someone to go in front of you to do it, because I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to call them and tell them and ask them.
Good stuff. That's the end of the first half. It's halftime. We play a full game. Coach Patrick Abernathy, he's in the house, and we're talking. You know what? I got to do this real quick. See that 1906. I had to put that up there because Coach Abernathy and Coach Hoyd, they Kappas in the house, so they represented. Coach slid it in there real quick. Go ahead, Coach.
I want you to know, when I saw the passcode 1906, I promise you that the first thing I thought is, hey man, one of them brothers Alpha 06. I thought, come on, we gotta change that code, man. What we doing?
We're gonna come right back as halftime after this timeout with assistant coach Patrick Abernathy right after this. 412-709-6130 is the number that you can call. Urban Media Today is Talk Sports. We'll be right back. Urban Media Today talks sports. You got Vince Butts. You got John McCann, Coach William Greg Hoyd, Jr., and you got Ray Porter Jr. I don't know why I say Ray's name that way, Coach, but I say it that way. And then we got assistant coach Patrick Abernathy, assistant coach at Tennessee. He's the director of player development, which is big. That's big time. That's big stuff. And when the coach said it, and I'm gonna pose this to you, Coach, real quick. When you said director of player development and you defined it in the first quarter, I immediately thought HBCU. And the reason I thought that, and you know where I'm going, is it's home, and it's made. You're made to feel like you're at home, and it's a unit. It's togetherness. Correct?
Oh, absolutely. HBC. First of all, I'll say this here: wherever I go, HBCU goes, because you talk about getting your foundation. You talk about getting your, knowing where your roots are. And 100% my roots are in that HBCU. I tell the guys, we're fortunate, we got 455 fans that come watch our games. But I tell them, until you've had an HBCU experience, brother, you have missed an experience. I mean, a great play. I love it. I love it, man. So I still get chills when I think about hearing that. Man, that's a good thing to you.
You're allowed to get chills, Coach, because you were at Tennessee State, and you know Tennessee State's one of the only HBCUs playing at the FBS level, with the football bowl subdivision level, and they're in the Ohio Valley Conference. And then the head coach there, Coach Rob Reed, is somebody that you know. And you said something interesting. You were actually the starter before Coach got his playing time on.
I was there before he got there. I got in, and Rod came. Rod's from where's Rod? From Texas. He's originally from Texas. He got there. But I will say this here: Rod Reed is the leading tackler in the history of Tennessee State University. That's in front of Richard Dent. I can go through a lot of names. So he had a long run when he got there. But I was a couple years ahead of him. But he's a good friend. He's got a son that's a phenomenal football player, a ninth grade quarterback. But Rod is a good dude. I'm excited about this year. Hopefully that we can kind of get that thing. First of all, we'll hopefully have a season. That's another discussion. And then hopefully that he'll be able to get Tennessee State back in its rightful place.
Yeah, that I agree with that, and that's a good segue, Coach, and I appreciate that, because my next move, gentlemen, would have been this. When you're looking at this COVID-19 and the impact it's having on the world, then you look at the professionals, where you have some NBA teams just opening up practice facilities. You have the NFL kicking around, possibly starting a season, but I'm thinking about the young ones. I'm a college football fanatic. I love college football, college basketball. Immediately, Coach Abernathy, I'm thinking about these young men and young women, who are trying to get back to a campus to play a sport that they love, in addition to getting their education. But I know you as a parent, and that's why I'm posing this to you right now. You as a parent, it's like, okay, even if it's open and everybody can come back, how do you let your child go back when you don't know how this virus is affecting all of us?
Well, I believe two things. You got to be smart, but you can't live in fear as well. But it's all about having knowledge and having protocol in terms of, okay, if we do take this stand and open things back up where there are potential sports athletics, what are the protocol? Because it's like 9/11. It's changed. It'll never, ever, ever be the same going forward for some parents. So you got to just think: do I expose my son, or allow him to socialize or assemble with other young men, not knowing it where they've been? Because they're coming from everywhere in our world. They're coming from everywhere, all around the world. So Canada, wherever it is. So at what point do you put your daddy hat down, in a sense, and say, okay, for the betterment or for the life of football, I allow my son to do that? Once again, I think you got to be educated, and then you've got to have some protocols. We talked about in our university, our AD and they have spoken about, okay, what is the pre of this deal? If we do set up on it, what's the pre? What's the receiving arrangement? Meaning, how do they come? What are the things you have in place? Yes, you got a physical, but your physical will not be the same physical that it ever had been. Okay, how do you address that where you play the percentages in your favor of keeping risk, down from the mass of your team? And then secondly, if something does arise, how will that be handled? What will be the protocol? And when I say protocol, one, recognition, and then second, what is the timetable? How do you quarantine it? What are your plans in terms of those type of deals? Because you got so many arenas that you got to put these guys together. Maybe football practice, maybe eating, maybe meetings, maybe housing, all those deals. So how are you prepared to deal with them? So I think you just got to be educated out in front of them.
Good stuff. Coach Hoyd, weigh in on that for me, because with you dealing with the recruits, you're actually touching the high school and touching college, and that has to impact the way you're handling recruits nowadays as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm really monitoring the NCAA and how they're adjusting as far as the recruiting schedules, what they're allowing as far as waivers. There so many athletes that missed this spring as far as NCAA eligibility. You got SAT scores, ACT scores that were missed. You have the full season of track that's gone. All of the showcases of volleyball where these athletes were somewhat, they weren't going to be grandstanded to be recruited or be on recruiting platforms. Those are all gone now. The camps, all the summer camps are pretty much, they're done. We're still playing by ear whether they're going to do anything maybe in the mid part of July, but the universities are not even allowing anyone outside of the teams to come onto the campus. So I have to continue to coach the families up. Again, the stress level for the athletes is high. Depression, a lot of kids are just in the depression zone. They're locked up in the house, they're isolated. There's no hope, so you have to coach them through it. I mean, I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and I literally had to just yell at him, his mom and dad on his Zoom call, like, hey, you can't be weak-minded right now. You're trying to go to a Division I school and play. You can't, get your mind right now. So there's a bit of coaching. There's a bit of even what Ab's doing, player development. Just coach them on how to maneuver through some of these obstacles of negotiation.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And I know, fellas, you all have questions too. And Coach Abernathy, you alluded to the fact that the old way of doing things is done. Now we're moving forward to things have changed, and you've already saying definitively things have definitely changed moving forward. How do you see things developing as we move forward and make it safe for the young ones to play the sports?
Well, once again, I think the first thing you have to do is you've got to, testing obviously has to be part of whatever you do. And obviously, if we receive our guys, I'm not part of the medical team, but I know that there will be a provision made in terms of identifying the status of your young men, and then facilitating them in a way where they're not, I guess, having access to potential people that may possess the virus. But then I also think when you talk about in your arena, that's the thing that's really got my mind kind of in a tangle of I guess, contradictory, not knowing how that will look. I think some people have talked about having the temperature testing soon as they come, creating something that when you come through, almost like a metal detector, where you're able to be tested as far as temperatures and all that kind of deal. And then obviously they talked about making it where one of the protocols are having to wear the facial deal, the little mask, in and out and all that kind of deal. I don't know what it'll look like, but what I think the first thing that has to happen is the numbers got to be in your favor, meaning that it's got to be trending in a downward way to a point where those protocols won't be challenged at a high level. You may still have situations, but I'm talking it's got to be isolated deals where you're not dealing with mass numbers of people that may be potential carriers. So I don't know how you identify that and how you feel like you get out in front of that, but I think that's got to be part of it.
And that's I like what you just said, and I thank you for that, because I mean, I'm thinking that and everybody here already knows, and I mean no disrespect to you, and I'm hoping that the young ones get to play. I don't think there's going to be a season because I think it's all talk right now. I think everybody wants it to be a season, and this is just Trevin Jones' personal opinion. But I think that when you look at the playing field right now, the University of Tennessee may be able to do it. But when you're looking at the professionals, the NFL, the NBA, you're talking billions of dollars right there. So they can actually have the medical teams in place. They can have the ready-made testing that they need to be done, to have done, and that they can make it happen. But then when you get to the college levels and the universities, remember, these are places of education. These are institutions. They don't have that type of money. And I mean, again, Tennessee, USC, LSU, you have millions of dollars at your disposal as well. So you may be able to squeeze through. But then if you look at that, that's only a certain percentage. I think there's 300 schools and maybe 150 or 160 play football. So you're looking at maybe 25 of them being able to afford that. So, and then when you talk about that, you're talking about the NCAA saying if all students can't come back to campus, then there won't be a season. So, I mean, how do you address those with, and I don't want you to go too far. I know you're an employee with the University of Tennessee, and I would never want to put you on the spot. But even when you hear things like that, what goes through your mind? And everybody can comment on this. This is not just for Coach. But what goes through your minds?
Like I said, you got to be smart, and you got to educate yourself, one, how to deal with it. But prior to educating how to deal with it, you got to identify it. So I think a lot of those deals are still yet to be done. A lot of people don't realize this here. When you talk about having a season potentially or not, you look at it today, you look at it next month, which is June. But if you flash back now, I'm gonna date myself a little bit here. It really, the way football, how college football used to assemble, you never really located on campus until August, actually. And then you played it. So if you look at that, you're still looking at several months ahead that, obviously you can have some medical gains in order to better address it, because the reality is every day we get a little bit more educated about this virus than we did yesterday. So keeping that in mind, there's a lot of time that can be happening. A lot of people say, well, they want to come back now. The reason why most schools come back now, what happened was there was a deal where they went to summer school. So what ended up happening is you had some went to summer school. All universities don't have the finances to pay for their guys to go to summer school, so they don't always offer that. But the big ones, the ones that have the finances, what they do, they offer the opportunity for two reasons. One, for our kids to academically get ahead of their graduation or the opportunity to get a degree. So you get out in front of that, and then you can control when they take certain courses. But also what ends up happening is, by rule, when they do that, you have two things. You can also bring them on campus, and now they're under your vision in terms of knowing how their eating habits are, how their workout habits. And even though you're not out there throwing balls to them, a lot of that, like now in June, if they come, the coaches are not necessarily with them. So really some of the Zoom stuff we're doing in terms of meetings, really, in a lot of respect, that hasn't really changed. The only thing different is you can bring more. If you got the money, you can bring your whole team in if you want to, and put them in summer school. And that way, now you got all your guys there, and you have a better feel of I guess, where your team is in terms of a lot of the important physically and all that.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Fellas, anybody else have a question? Because I could go all day. Because what Coach is just he's dropping gems, and it's like I'm excited, and we're getting to talk college football, and we're actually speaking with someone who's on the front line, not only as a coach, but he's been there as a player. So you're getting an insight into what it is to be inside that helmet as a college player, and then outside the helmet on the sideline as someone that's giving directive and directions to the players that's on the field. So I think that's awesome. Kudos to you, Coach, for what you're doing. And then being a father on top of that, that's a triple play right there that you got going on this season. So
I like when you say triple, because when you say triple,
oh no! And I didn't do that, did I? I didn't. Yeah, I meant no disrespect. I didn't. Yeah, you
did. Bring out no wood. Bring out
Yo, Coach.
Alpha Psi Incorporated is a non-hazing fraternity.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all of them, without question. We're gonna take a real quick break, Coach, and we're gonna come back, and Coach Hoyt is gonna start off the fourth quarter. That's into the third quarter. It goes that fast, just like Coach Hoyt said. It flies by. It's Urban Media Today Talk Sports. It's on UrbanMediaToday.com, 24/7 radio station. You got to check us out. Give us a call if you have any ideas, thoughts, want to just comment, want to have ideas for a show, even if you want to be a guest on the show. We're open to that. It's 412-709-6130. Give us a call. We'll be right back after this timeout. Urban Media Today Talks Sports. We're back. Coach Patrick Abernathy, assistant coach, University of Tennessee. He actually is the director of player development. TSU grad, Tennessee State, that is. Tennessee State alum. Go Tigers. And I won't say what everything else he's been mentioning throughout the show, kind of sprinkling in it. We'll leave that alone. Because he got a partner down there. See, I'm holding it. Well, I won't go there. Go ahead, Coach Hoyt. You had something you wanted to say at the end of the last segment.
Yeah. So I mean, I wanted to talk to you about recruiting because I own Playing for Envelopes National Recruiting, and you, of course, you were really, really supportive in joining our service and bringing your son aboard. Now, I know a lot of people might say, Ab, you don't need a recruiting service. Your son is 6'5", 260. I mean, I get that a lot. Some kids, they say, hey man, why are you working with that kid? That kid got 40 offers now, and he runs fast, he jumps, he has the grades, but what I'm telling parents and I'm telling coaches also is before Tyler got to that point, we sat down and we put together a recruiting plan together. Can you talk a little bit about the things we put in place early? Some of even the highs, even the lows of recruiting with Tyler. Some of the things that we were shocked by with the rankings and all of the camps and things of that nature, and even some of the feedback. But you didn't need a recruiting service, but you needed a recruiting service.
Well, once again, I spoke earlier about talking about everything in life. You're a seed, and it's not about am I a seed or not. Every kid is a seed. It's about where they put that seed to basically maximize whatever the potential that they do. So when I look at obtaining your service, I'm looking at more of maximizing whatever his potential was. Did I feel like he can play? I told you from day one. I said, he's going to be long. He's going to be something now. I don't know what he's going to be, but he's going to be something. So I recognized that he was something, not wishfully, but I recognized it. But then at the same time, I wanted to make sure, just like any other product in this, that you're trying to advertise, that I have someone that can go before my son and not only display it, but can speak on it and speak on the real stuff, not the fake stuff that doesn't matter, but the real stuff. And by obtaining you, that's what really came. But some of the highs and lows to that is, I was one of the parents, even though Greg and playing for envelopes representing my son, my son was actually, he ended up ranking high in the top 100, all that. But really, if I really wanted my son to rank higher, I could have took him to 100 camps. I didn't take him to all the rivals. I never took him. My son, he never, ever, ever, ever went to a camp until he was going into his senior year that summer. We didn't do it as a ninth grader. Didn't do it. He got his first offer as a ninth grader. He still didn't go. College, hey, come to the school, come. I didn't do it. Why? Because as a father, I felt like I knew my son and I was speaking to him. But I told Greg, I said, he's not ready for that. I said, yes, he's going to be a dude, but he's not ready. So Greg, obviously, respectfully, I guess in a sense, he jogged a little bit in terms of how he put him out there at the request of me. So I appreciate you being a good listener and not just out there trying to push your logo and just throwing my son out there. So you didn't do that. But a lot of times you got kids that go out there and fight for those stars and all that. If we're honest, no disrespect to those individuals, because I know they're working hard, but in a lot of respect, those individuals are writers and they're selling something. They're selling subscriptions, they're selling information. A lot of times, not saying that they're not valuable, because I think it is. I think a kid from Podok County now has the ability to put himself out there on a mainstream, no matter where he's located. So there's some advantages to that. But the lows to that, I think sometimes is that several of them they would call me and say, hey, guy, I want your son to come to so-and-so camp. I go, no, we're not coming. I say, he's not going to come out there and compete. And they go, well, just tell him come and do a sign and do interviews. Why? Because they're selling things. So it worked in terms of that. I didn't allow my son to be part of that because I didn't want him. One, I wanted him to stay humble and focus on his grind more so than all the other deals. And Greg, once again, he told me a lot of times, hey man, so-and-so want to offer me, they want to do. I said, Greg, I appreciate we ain't going there. I mean, if you want to, if they just want to do it, they can do it, but they're going to waste an offer. We're not going there. Greg was a good listener, and he allowed me to determine, in a lot of respects, what I wanted for my son and who to advertise it to. And he did that and had enough, relationship and integrity that they trusted him when he presented that information to him.
Good stuff. That's the end of the fourth quarter. We played a full game, and Coach Patrick Abernathy stayed with us the whole game. We appreciate that, Coach. What we do real quick is we go around the room, and fellas, you got like 30 seconds each. We're going to talk about something that was impactful to us this week. And Vince, we're going to start with you.
Yeah. So you all know I'm from Cleveland, so I got to rep my man Mo Williams, who played for the Cavs on 2 different stints, played for 9 different NBA teams throughout his career. He is now the head coach at Alabama State. So kudos to him. I hope he does well representing the HBCUs.
And to touch on that real quick, he pulled off a coup. I'm so excited I can't get it out. He pulled off a coup, Vince, because Trace Young is one of the top recruited players in college hoops, and Trace Young had 6 different schools on his final 5. On his final 6, and he ended up picking Alabama State, which wasn't even on the list. And at the same time, Coach Mo Williams gets the head coaching job. I don't know, but I'm all about HBCU. Go ahead, John. We're gonna go to you next. Unmute your mic, John.
I'm feeling some of the guys in Major League Baseball who, despite the big salaries, are saying, you know what, I'm not going out on that diamond risking my life with this coronavirus going on. So I respect that.
Good stuff. Ray Porter Jr., what you got?
Wanted to give my congratulations to the class of Pitt Athletics Hall of Fame. And there's a good number of footballs, Ironhead Hayward and former coach Jackie Sherrill, along with basketball's Brandon Knight, but one in particular is my good buddy Curtis Martin, who played. He was able to play about 3 years at Pitt. So of course, his life began to. He went to the NFL and he's in the Hall of Fame. So it's nice to see that he got honored with Pitt as well, and hopefully one day they'll also retire his number 29. So give my congratulations to him and the rest of the class of Athletics Hall of Fame.
Good stuff, man. Coach Hoyd, what you got?
Man, I'm fired up, man. Let me tell y'all. Fired up, man. Listen, my daughter, she came in running my room this morning, man. She said, Dad, I got in. I'm like, what are you talking about? She got the email from North Carolina Central. She got into law school today, man. Man, talking about changing lives, man. I'm as a dad, man, I'm pumping my chest, man. I'm fired up today, man. I know I'm here on this great show with this Black Excellence, man. But as a dad, I'm fired up. And then my son, he graduated from got his master's degree from Howard University this week too, man. So, it's a good week this week in the Hoyt household, man. Good week.
That's a blessing.
You walking on air, Coach. And if I got to weigh in on that, because Tiffany is awesome. She was actually my partner when I do the voice of the play-by-play for Howard University football. Tiffany actually did the color commentating, and she did it for her sophomore, junior, and senior year, and she was a beast. I mean, she is somebody that you got to keep your eyes on, especially season law. Oh, man, nothing's going to stop that young lady. And I got to see Coach's son play last season, and Greg was tearing it up. He was playing defensive tackle. I thought he could have played linebacker, to be honest with you, Coach. But he was playing defensive tackle and doing his thing. So congratulations, Coach. I know you're walking on air. Coach Abernathy, as our guest, you get the last word. Coach, what stands out in your mind this week?
Well, not to be redundant, just proud of my son. Just proud, how he is. It's not easy being the son of a coach. I don't care if you're in Little League, because it still can be challenging. But to embrace it, to give a level of wealth, and then more so than anything, some of the goals and some of the things that he set out and set before him before, to see those things come into play or whatever. I'm a proud papa in terms of that. I'm really proud because he's a good young man. He's a good football player, but he's a great young man. I think that's more important to me than anything in the world.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you being here. It's Urban Media Today Talk Sports. Coach Patrick Abernathy, University of Tennessee assistant coach. He is the director of player development.
Urban Media Today talks sports every week on Urban Media Today Radio, where you can listen in on free music and podcasts on our SoundCloud station at Urban Media Today. And for more information, log on to urbanmediatoday.com, your lifestyle, entertainment, and sports blog website.
What type of games being played? How's it doing there? I get up, all right?